Right, after days of bad weather and work and other things keeping me away and work on the other plot, I've managed to get a bit of time to get this bed finished. It's been such a long time that the potatoes are all romping away nicely, and they're now outpacing the thistles because I pulled those out, covered them up, and the thistles have slowed down. These have taken off and they'll outpace this, and I can do the same again. Just if I can get in, I would pull them in, so pull that much out, and then once it's had that pulled out, it's going to have a hard job coming back through, and by the time that gets back up to that level, the wood chips will be up to this level, so it's going to just have to keep working harder each time, and in the end the roots will get exhausted. And it doesn't take long to pull these out. Doesn't matter if I don't pull them out by the roots, because so long as they're not photosynthesizing, it'll stop the roots. But between the beds where I haven't actually pulled them out, you can see how big they are. They're like a good 20 centimeters tall, and I went through and pulled these out 3 weeks ago. So that's 3 weeks growth. No, it was 2 weeks ago, so that's 2 weeks growth from a standing start. But problem with this hose pipe, it's had a leak, but it's got a serious leak again, and obviously either that hasn't worked or it's leaking somewhere else. It's not a big and difficult job, but I'm likely to get splashed, more likely to get soaked, so I thought you might enjoy that. It's definitely that bit. I don't get any closer because it's just squirting water, but I can put my hand into it, you can see. Well, you can see from there. So I'll put a piece here, so all I'll do is I'll cut that piece and put a piece in the middle. Okay, I've got a hose, and I've put 2 of these pieces at either end, so I can put this into the middle of that. So I'm going to cut that little piece in the middle and put this on. Right, I haven't got the right tool, but this junior hacksaw should do it. And I think, right, that's the dodgy piece in the middle sorted out, and these go in like that, and this goes in through and it goes into that. Come on, get in. It's a bit tight on this one, but yeah, it's going in. I'll do the same at this end. Okay, so let's test it out, but I'm going to move the camera back. It's temperamental anyway. What it needs is a good soaking, and that will finish it off. Bit of a down here, but nothing like what it was. I'll tighten that, and that should be fine. And I didn't get a soaking. This tap outside the shed was knocked over by somebody's car, so John down the lane has done a good job of fixing that. He's actually replaced the old post that was getting a bit rotten, and I've put some logs around this post so that you can't drive into it again, because it's been happening with the one down there, sort of down there. We don't want that to keep happening to this one, so we've put these logs around it. And also to thank him for trimming the weeds outside this shed. This side, obviously, we've left it long because we want the caterpillars to use the nettles. You see, oops, as soon as I put a camera on them, they disappear. There's a hoverfly there. So we're keeping these nettles for the moment, but we'll give them a cut later in the year. Things are ready to go. We've got the squashes and pumpkins all ready to go. We've got the brassicas, celery, celeriac, leeks, sunflowers, marigolds. They're all in here ready to go. This bed is ready to rock and roll. This big pile of weeds, you can compare that to the size of my wheelbarrow. Well, it's enough to fill a wheelbarrow, and that was pulled out of these 2 beds basically, and the paths around them. So that was a lot, and that area is ready to go rock and roll. Deal with the weeds later. So these 2 are ready, and the new brassica bed is ready. What I had to do, like I had to do with that one, to keep that end up above ground, I had to leave this end a bit higher up, so I've cut pieces of pallet to cover that gap between the actual bed and the ground at this end, because there is a big drop from that end to this end, and to keep it sort of reasonably level and that end above ground, that's what I've got to do at this end, just crudge it at this end. So I've wood chipped that end. I've given this bed a really good soaking because with all the sun we've had, it was really dry on top, so I've given it a good soaking and it'll be ready for tomorrow. Just giving that cage a good soaking, but that's all cleared and ready to go as well. The potatoes are doing fine, they're coming up. Between the dock and the weeds, these potatoes are doing okay. Oh, dock leaves, I'll have to get them out of the way, but yeah, they're doing fine. The Jerusalem artichokes are coming up fine, so they're doing alright. I haven't been able to record because every time I've been down here, people have been using power tools and it's been impossible to do a recording. So I'm here early first thing in the morning and the wind has picked up. So between the wind and the power tools, you can never get a word in edgeways. But I've done this bed that was next to the potatoes. The potatoes are doing great. I made a mistake. I planted into the cage, so I put in the sprouts and the leeks and the purple sprouting broccoli at the back and a couple of spare ones left there. But when I left, the door was like this and I looked at it and I thought, yeah, it's shut. But what I didn't realise, I hadn't actually tied it in. So the wind blew it open and the pigeons got in and they've devastated some of the sprouts, and they've even had a go at the spares. So that was a bit silly. But hopefully I'll still get a few sprouts coming up. But I won't get as many sprout plants as I wanted. I've lost some, so unfortunately that's the way it is. I've still got a few more things to go in, and once those are in, obviously all these squashes and pumpkins are starting to go yellow because they've been in the pots too long, but can't help that. Other things were higher priority, so they had to wait their turn. It's time to put the squashes and pumpkins in. They're all sitting here and they've been in the pots a little bit too long, which is why some of them are starting to go a bit yellow. Also getting flowers. This one, this jack-o'-lantern pumpkin, is already a good metre and a bit long, so really these should have gone in. But other things took priority, so they've had to wait. Took a lot of weeds out of this bed, and this is what I took out this morning. I weeded it yesterday and there's little bits left, so I took those out this morning. This bed is 150 centimetres wide by 3 metres long, and I've cleared a trench. I've took all the mulch up and sprayed it on the other bit, so I've now got a trench at the 50 centimetre mark along the bed. So I want 3 mounds. So one goes in at the 75 centimetre mark, the other one goes in at 150, goes in at 150, this one goes in at 225. Let's make sure these are in firm now, and then in the cut water bottles. They're just water bottles with the ends cut off, and I got a job lot from somebody who was trying to get rid of these, so rather than them going into the recycling, you can repurpose them. Right, so that will do for now, and then I can always add another one as I need to. In fact, I will do that now. That's done. So I can add water and feed, and it will go down and feed them at the roots rather than spraying at the top to feed the weeds. And obviously, very important, to put in what eye protections. Right, now it's a case of simply placing these beside these. These two yellow first, and I'm going to put 4 pumpkins round each mound, or in each mound. That is one, and that one will come this way. Sitting here so long, they've all got tangled up. There's the second one. So these will trail along up here, along this way, and then these are the autumn crown butternut squash, and they will sit on this side and go that way. Okay, well, I'll do the others and bring you back. So that's all done, they're all in place. Now all I've got to do is go around and fill in between them with soil, and then once I've done that, I've got some well rotted manure which I will put a little bit nearby. Obviously they're going to get liquid feed, which is handy because the barrels are there, so they're handy for getting fed, but I will add just a little bit of well rotted manure around them. So this is just some soil I've got from where I've dug other things in, just adding a bit around these plants. But I will do that and bring you back. Right, that's them put in. All I've got to do now is just mulch them with some wood chips, and this is done. We can move on to the next bed. Right, the bed's been mulched and watered, and I've added a couple of marigolds at either end. So the pumpkins and squashes are done. The courgettes are in. A bit late, but as I say, better late than never. They're in anyway. So hopefully we should get some courgettes out of these. Well, the 2 layers from this Logan brie I've obviously taken, because this is doing fine, and the bit that I layered, that's the bit I laid down, and there's another bit coming out from there. So I've got 2 new plants, and when I looked in the catalogue, pot this size with a smaller plant is £15, so that's £30 worth of plant there. Good saving. I've put in another bed of brassicas, celery, leeks, and at the end here some Swiss chard and a few marigolds. So hopefully that should keep the pests away from the brassicas, but we'll see. So my new reckoning is planting 1 bed in the morning. It's not so much the planting, it's all the other stuff you've got to do, get things ready, pull all the weeds out again, etc. But yeah, I'm pleased with that. So apart from this bed, that's gone mental. I mean, there are some weeds in it, but there's also the chard plants that have gone absolutely mental. And I saw this this beetroot that I missed, obviously. Oh no, it's still firm, so I don't know. It was about to go to seed, so I'm not going to eat it, but it's overwintered. So ignoring the bit at the back, I've now got half of this allotment planted. There's some stuffing containers at the back as well, which you can't see. And these strawberries are going gangbusters. So if I can beat the birds and the rodents to this, I should have a good crop of strawberries. Well, after a long period of dry weather with no rain, we finally had a bit of rain, and it should have softened the ground so I can pull everything out of this bed, because when I tried the other day it was like everything was concreted in. A nightmare to try and pull them out, but I'll try and clear this bed so I can plant the Cape gooseberries along here. What we'll do is I'll take this net off, but I will keep the pipe so that I can put some plastic on top of it when the weather turns cooler, and we might be able to keep the Cape gooseberries going for a bit longer, because they'll benefit from the warmth of having the brick behind them. So let's pull out these weeds, and it's handy that the weed pile is actually right by this bed, so don't have to carry anything. We'll first try and get this netting off. I'll have to take the netting off as I pull the weeds out, but they should come off like that. That's a lot easier. So I'll clear these and bring you back. So that's all the weeds cleared. So now I can put in the Cape gooseberries. So they need to go in 50 centimetres apart. So first one's 25. So it's marked. And simply use this to there. Planter. Cut the holes. Pick the wrong bit to wear a black shirt. It is absolutely because the ground is so dry. Bulb planter isn't actually picking anything up, the stuff just falls back down, but you might have to resort to hand trowel. Despite the fact that I went through this when I cleared it, and when I planted it last year, I'm still finding lots of nasties. And here, still finding bits of glass. Hello, Mr. Robin. Come to inspect. It is. I don't know if the camera's picking him up. He's going to visit. Finding bits of glass still. But hopefully, eventually, we'll get to the stage where I don't have to do that. Sorry, Robin, I didn't mean to scare you. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I don't think I've got 7 good ones, but we'll see. Just put in a little bit of fish blood and bone, a little bit of roasted chicken manure, and a bit of seaweed. Robin keeps appearing out of nowhere. These are watered. I've been sitting in here for too long, but hopefully they'll recover enough to. I managed it. But there's a brassica growing next to the physalis there, so anyway, just to go up when I'll plant them. Because when I potted it up, I picked up some of the compost from the tray, the seed tray, and obviously there was a seed that hadn't germinated at the time, but then it germinated later, and it's, well, I'm just curious to see what brassica comes out of it, but I will probably dispose of it. Yeah, I'm not going to mulch these today. Last year I planted everything and I did mulch this bed, and well, you saw the results. So there's no clearer proof that mulch is necessary. Certainly on this site, we've got weed seeds blowing it from every direction, and birds and wildlife dropping things on you from everywhere, then it really is necessary to put lots of mulch on everything. Just give them a good watering in. I think what I'll do is give that bed a good soaking. I've watered those in, but if the rest of the bed is dry, it'll just suck all the water out. I'll give it a good soaking. Right, so that's done, nicely watered. So hopefully in a few months we'll have a load of fruit in there. Now I could interplant other things amongst it, but this year I just don't need the extra food, so I'm not going to bother. Now I didn't cover this bed because the pigeons don't bother physalis, but this was the one that had the brassica and the physalis in one module. So I planted it. Obviously the brassica has been munched completely, but the physalis is untouched. Yeah. They've taken well, so I'll come in a couple of days and mulch this bed